Good morning, Chris.
Good morning. Good
Good
morning,
morning.
everyone. How are you? And it
Nice,
is
nice to
morning.
meet you.
It is
Yeah,
morning.
yeah. Good morning for you. Good
Yes,
afternoon for us.
yes. Good afternoon, all.
Good afternoon for us. Chrissy, now I'm going to make a recap in Italian of what happened in the morning, and I'm going to introduce you according your bio, and I will say to you the okay to start your presentation. Just
Thank
five
you.
minutes only.
Thank you.
Thank you to you. Ok, quindi nella mattina, quindi sono stati a parte quindi, il mio intervento che voleva dare un po' anche un filo d'Arianna su questa serie di eventi che siamo convinti di continuare anche nei prossimi anni, legati a come l'automazione intelligente applicata al controllo di gestione la missione finanza e controllo di fatto aiuterà la figura del controller. Quindi sono stati vari interventi molto più quindi tecnici e passiamo sicuramente a questa seconda parte in cui abbiamo come prima relatrice, e ringraziamo enormemente sia come ha fatto questa mattina parlando di IMA, ma di Kristine Brand, dottoressa in Italian is dottoressa Kristine Brands, che è Assistant Professor of Management presso la US Air Force Academy. Naturalmente un PhD, ha un lunghissimo curriculum, insegna Financial e Managerial Accounting e è anche, cosa molto importante, presente nel board, quindi consiglio direttivo di IMA, quindi varie pubblicazioni, comprese quelle nella stupenda rivista che è Strategic Magazine di IMA, che io consiglio a tutti e detto da controller a controller, le $100 che al netto dello sconto no? Come asso controller per iscriversi a ME, solo quella rivista vale. Vabbè, chiusa parentesi. E quindi c'è quindi un lavoro proprio della dottoressa. Lei ci parlerà massimo interesse, ovvero le best practices nell'uso dell'intelligenza artificiale nel quello che è legato al management accountant che nel mondo europeo lo chiamiamo controller. To you the word, Chris. Thank you again to be here with us.
Well, thank you so much, Giorgio, for the very nice.
Sorry, I interrupted you for a second. About in Italian and in English. Per le domande, come abbiamo fatto nella mattinata, bene qui doppiamente mandarlo in italiano o in inglese ad Alessio e che poi raggruppa o meno e le propone in inglese a. In English, any question will be rewarded by our friend Alessio in English to you. Okay, so you can start. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, perfect.
Okay.
Perfect. Perfect.
All right. Excellent. Well, it is indeed a pleasure to be here today with you to talk about this topic. And I'm going to discuss AI best practices for management accountants. And this presentation will not be technical. So, as Giorgio gave such a kind introduction, I just want to add that I worked as a cost accountant and am a management accountant through and through. And then one day I wanted to do something and I wanted the IT department's help. And they told me it would take 2 years to do what I asked them to do. And on that day, I vowed that I would learn about IT, information technology. And that's exactly what I did. And it was one of the best decisions I ever made. And ever since that day, I have encouraged management accountants and all accountants to learn about technology. And I am very happy that it is easy for them to do. Before I start, because I work at the United States Air Force Academy, I need to read this disclaimer. The views expressed in this presentation are those of the author and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of the Air Force, the Space Force, the Department of Defense, or the U.S. government, and it's approved for public release. The planes that you see on the right are fighter jets that the Thunderbird precision team flies over the Air Force Academy on graduation day. Half of my students become pilots, and I teach accounting courses. And on Monday, I went for a walk around the academy grounds, and sure enough, two fighter jets in parallel flew over the Air Force Academy, and they are very loud. So let me just give a brief overview of what I want to cover today. I want to talk about 9 best practices that you, as management accountants, can use to help your organizations deal with artificial intelligence. We're going to talk about strategy, risk assessment, regulations, governance, technology infrastructure, application development, managing talent, safeguarding cybersecurity, and last but not least, promoting ethics and privacy. And I'm going to share some resources with you, a conclusion, and then questions. And I apologize that I don't speak Italian, so all of this will be in English. If it's too fast, please let me know and I will slow down. Or if there's a word that you don't understand, please say something in the chat and I will make it clearer. All right, best practices. Well, as my audience knows, artificial intelligence has exploded on the business and the accounting landscape. It's exploded everywhere. And there are many implications of it for management accountants and for organizations. And it's moving so fast, and in some places without a lot of direction and information, that it makes us very difficult. I know here at the Academy, they gave us a book on how to teach using artificial intelligence. And we have meetings to work with the software. So it has become an Air Force priority. And I always know when something becomes a priority because we get a lot of instructional emails very, very quickly. All right, let's talk about the first best practice, and that's choosing a strategy. Because when something like this, a disruptive technology is introduced, sometimes you want to just go, as we say, fight the fire and react. But that's not the approach that you should take. You need to have a strategy and a plan to introduce a disruptive technology like artificial intelligence. And you don't need to feel like you need to do it all tomorrow. That would be probably the worst thing that you can do, is to just rush your way through adapting to the technology and implementing it. So you need to look at the strategy through several viewpoints. You need to look at what it's doing to the market and what is available with the technology. One of the most important things to do is to make sure that your top leadership is involved in it. For those of you who work in internal control, the term is tone at the top, and make sure that they will support you. I'm going to talk a little bit more about how it's also important that they understand this, because at least in the organizations that I've been working with, many of the leaders don't understand technology. They're behind. It's important to include management accountants because they can participate at the strategy table. It's very, very important because they know what's going on in the organization. One of the things I love about management accounting and my experience is it gave me exposure all over the organization, in the supply chain, marketing, and in the leadership, got to know the leadership in the organization. And that means that management accountants can be strategic partners, and they can help identify ways to measure the effectiveness of the strategy and to develop KPIs. The second is probably one of the most important. On the risk level, the risk of artificial intelligence is very, very high. It's off the charts because if you look at it, it's all driven by extremely complex algorithms. And understanding those algorithms is certainly beyond what I am able to do. So it's a mystery. It's behind a closed door. What is happening? Who is making it happen? Can you trust those people? So what you need to do is continuously define, monitor, assess, and mitigate AI risks. And this is a place where management accountants can perform a function of assessing the risk throughout the organization. There is a COSO, Committee of Sponsoring Organizations, risk management framework called the Enterprise Risk Management Framework. And COSO has not issued an AI framework. I should probably call them and tell them they need to do that. But there is an organization that I will introduce you to shortly that has a program. So it's just like internal controls and risk assessment for financial and managerial reporting, you can also do this for AI and at least baseline what you're facing by interviewing the members and the functions in your organization. And right behind strategy, I highly encourage you to participate in this. And again, you don't have to be technical to do this. With the right risk assessment framework for artificial intelligence, you can ask the questions and document it and find where the high exposures are. Here are the types of risks that you would encounter. So as I mentioned, artificial and machine learning is extremely complex. And you need to have an IT organization that documents that and explains what they're doing. There's absolutely a lack of transparency because we're talking about algorithms, very complex, sophisticated algorithms. And my eyes cross when I look at those. There are issues of trust in the organization. Who can you trust? If you have the issues with the complexity and the lack of transparency, can you trust the people who are developing these? There's a severe risk with algorithmic bias. And that is, it's possible to develop these programs that are evaluating your data that favor certain groups. And an example of this is Microsoft was using these algorithms to evaluate potential employees' resumes, and they were favoring the male employees. So they had to drop the algorithms. There is an issue with algorithmic drift and hallucination. And all that means is the algorithms come up with the wrong answer. That's drift and hallucination. Why they don't just say, oh, algorithms calculate the wrong answer. They had to have these two words. There's a risk of automation job loss, and that will take care of focus on lower level employees. So some of you might think it's good news to automate the accounts payable department. It's types of things like that. The other side of that issue is that it's possible to free us who are highly educated and trained with a lot of experience to do more sophisticated analysis. Another risk is hacker vulnerability. This is, if they can get into your system, they can tweak those algorithms. About 4 years ago, I heard a director of IT from Intel speak. He's diabetic, and he relies on technology to let him know what his insulin levels are and when he needs medication. And he said directly that he's very fearful of hackers hacking the program that monitors his blood sugar levels. There's an issue with the rise of the techno elite. Right now, the techno elite understands these algorithms. I have friends who are able to do this, and that means they have a lot of power. How can we control them in our organizations? So these are just a few examples of the risks that we face in organizations that management accountants need to document for their organizations. We also need to understand and follow emerging AI regulations. And there are several. And the European Union, in my opinion, does an outstanding job examining the development of technology and getting ahead of it. Because the trend is that technology gets ahead of the regulations. So this is very important. These regulations, and here are some examples. In March 24, the EU passed the Artificial Intelligence Act to regulate AI across the EU. And the big issue is they do not allow bias in the programs, and they make sure that people are not harmed by the EU. The EU will adapt and adopt these regulations quickly, and they also are outstanding at providing regulatory guidance to help you identify what you need to do. But this is extremely important. The US has several regulations that they've recently passed, and they will continue to do so. This is a major problem for all jurisdictions, and they will try to react to it and enact these regulations. And you need to follow this and identify which ones are the important and how you can comply with them. The next one is to establish data governance, AI governance. And you can see from the chart on the left, we have AI governance crosses over, intersects with data governance, and then the umbrella is IT governance, and then the top level would be the organization governance. Once again, you have to have the tone at the top, and the board of directors is responsible for this. And I believe that organizations need a dedicated chief information artificial intelligence officer, along with the chief information officer. But this person will be highly technical. And this is the person who will be able to understand how to describe and to understand what those AI algorithms are doing. Those AI algorithms are programs that are trained to identify trends in data and make recommendations. Very powerful. You also need a chief AI ethics officer. And again, I would have this function report to the board of directors. Right along with the risk assessment and the risk policy documentation, you need procedures and internal controls, and they need to be formally adopted. And in AI governance, data governance, and IT governance, accountants can participate in all three, not only from the standpoint of developing these policies and procedures, but on an ongoing basis, monitoring them to ensure that they are in place and they are effective. The fifth one is to create a technology infrastructure, because you need to automate so much of this activity within your IT. And it's not only within your IT infrastructure, but it's also communicating with your customers. And what is the major issue here? Money. You need major investment to support the IT infrastructure. Management accounting's capital budgeting tools can really help you perform the analysis. They can define the information that you need, and they can perform the analysis at the types of projects that you should pursue and which ones will provide the best return on investment. You need project managers to measure the project progress against the projects that were accepted through the capital budgeting activity. That is another place that management accountants can participate. They're excellent. They have the attention to detail. They understand the progress against those projects. Because this can be so technically complex, you may need to consider engaging artificial intelligence consultants to help you build this. This, just like the AI strategy, needs to be established in detail. This is not one of those things that you just do from time to time. There should be a formal plan with a budget, with a timeline that drives these, and it needs to be evaluated as things change, because things are changing so fast in this environment. The next is to monitor application development. And I'm specifically thinking about artificial intelligence software development for your organizations. There is enormous risk in this. Here is the development process for artificial intelligence. And just because it's artificial intelligence doesn't mean that you don't follow standard operating procedure for software development, which is highly structured. And there is a very detailed process that is followed with approval, with documentation, every step of the way. So you must do that with AI, especially with the risk of the complexity of those algorithms and the unintended consequences that could take place if you have AI algorithms that are not meeting your company or organization's interest. First, you need to identify the business problem. Second, collect the data. There's data everywhere for your analysis. So if you were trying to decide what new products to introduce and how much they cost, you would have a very detailed data collection process. You need to prepare the data. And this issue is called, or this step is called cleansing the data to make absolutely sure it's correct. Perfect opportunity for management accountants' participation because you use the data. You know bad data when you see it. You can provide so much added value by preparing and cleansing the data. The model needs to be built, and there need to be meetings to discuss that model. Management accountants need to attend those meetings. The model needs to be tested. There should be an expectation of what the model will provide, and we need to evaluate whether or not it satisfied the requirements of the model. And you need to test it until you're satisfied that it does so. Then you deploy the model. And then, very importantly, You need to govern the model and monitor it to make sure that it is doing what is expected to do. And if it isn't, stop it from operating. Okay, next, we need to manage talent. And Forbes magazine, the popular business magazine, classifies AI talent into three buckets. We have frontline workers, and they suggest that we provide those workers with literacy. Technical professionals, according to Forbes, already should have had AI training. And your opportunity here is to provide them with advanced training and develop strong technical expertise within your organization, because there is a lack of AI technically proficient professionals, and to hire them from the outside is extremely expensive. In the United States, some of the AI algorithm developers make $1 million US a year. So if you can create an environment where you're developing the talent, you are going to be ahead of your competition. And Forbes recommends that executives receive high-level training because they're the ones who are going to be approving that capital investment that we talked about earlier. The term that we're really interested in is upskilling your organization. And here are several ways that you can do it. Develop the culture, figure out how you can automate repetitive tasks like accounts payable and accounts receivable. Use AI to make life easier for your employees. And your management accountants are going to tell you, what can we do to fix this system using AI? If you can educate them about what AI can do, they'll be able to come up with the cost savings. And then reward employees who are embracing the AI training. And you can do this either in classrooms, or you can have AI online training for people and then reward them and recognize those who understand that they need to do this and follow through with it. Cybersecurity is huge. Again, the hackers are going to try to infiltrate your systems. And one of the things that they do is use something called a deep fake, which means they invade your system and they pretend they're one of your executives. And there was an example a few months ago that talked about a high-level employee who went to a meeting, and the other people at the meeting were deep fake or bogus employees, and the one authentic employee approved a $25 million payment. So there's highly sophisticated system infiltration. The World Economic Forum is following this very, very closely. Lots of organizations are following this closely that are not traditional IT organizations or accounting organizations. This is so important. Promote ethics and privacy. And so and here's the UN representative, Gabriela Ramos. In no other field is the ethical compass more important than in artificial intelligence. AI technology brings major benefits in many areas, but without the ethical guardrails, it risks reproducing real-world biases and discrimination. This is on the UN's radar screen. and they are providing guidance to, there's so many member countries. So you need to promote an ethical compass. The ACCA, which is the British accounting organization, has provided an ethical accountability and privacy framework. So they say that it needs to be transparent, needs to guard against bias and discrimination, needs to address privacy concerns and security risks, comply with regulations, and prevent inaccuracy and misinformation. That's that hallucination we talked about before. And prevent magnification effects, because if you have false reporting because of an AI error, that can really cause damage in your organization, and guard against unintended consequences. Isaac Asimov is the great renowned science fiction writer. And so many years ago, this is the early 90s, he issued the 3 laws of robotics. And these 3 laws of robotics can also apply to artificial intelligence. Don't injure a human being. The robot or the AI must obey any orders given to it by human beings, unless a human being would be harmed. And AI must protect its own existence as long as such protection does not conflict with the first 2. So it's interesting that more than 30 years later, that his vision about the bad effects of technology can also apply to AI. And these are very, very simple ethical principles. So management accountants must be involved in this. This is so big. We just don't give this to the IT department. They need your involvement. Your organization needs your involvement. And this presentation has shown many places where you can participate. You don't need to understand those algorithms. You need to understand that understanding that algorithms is a risk, and make sure that there are safeguards in your organization. You need to participate in addressing risk policies and procedures, internal control policies and procedures, the technology infrastructure, cybersecurity policies and procedures to safeguard your organization. So I have a final thought. It's 10 p.m. Do you know what your AI algorithms are doing?
Question mark.
All right, so resources.
Yeah.
ISACA, and I have the link. ISACA has an AI audit program that be very helpful, and they've written a lot of articles on AI, and they are in they may be in Italian. They have a very strong international group. Institute of Management Accountants has just announced a 4-part AI webinar series, and there are many articles that have appeared recently in strategic finance, including one that I wrote that was the basis of this presentation. So with that, here's my contact information. Please feel free to send me an email if you have any questions. And if we have time for questions, I'm certainly happy to answer any questions.
Chris, thank you very, very much for your presentation. You confirm, I can confirm that you're perfect international English. I never listen other Americans that can speak so clear.
Giorgio,
Fantastic.
Giorgio, thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Yeah, it was very, very clear, all your slides and also your presentation. Me personally, I found very interesting your some slides that foster to us a lot of thinkings about AI risks.
And
You so
I will say,
AI risks.
yeah,
This is that is this risk your statement, your slides about
I will send you the
what take-
slides so you can
yeah,
share them with your group.
yeah, it's better now. I mentioned about your slides on AI risks. I found very, very interesting and also the importance of AI ethics. And I will know how IMA is very, very, very concentrating about the management ethics. And other, thank you also for all your evaluation about how the controller or for you, management accountant, has been committed in different steps and management of the AI process, and also last consideration about the upskills. So upskills means investment by the company on
Yes.
training, continuous training, and is one of our as associations controller that is trying to do. This is my personal comments. And instead, I ask to Alessio or Andrea that he has, if you got some question to Chris.
Yes, we have two questions. So let me read the first question. The first question is okay. Question one: how general AI affect the CMA examination?
Oh, that's a good one. Um, I I don't know. I used to be on the Board of Regents, but I will ask one of my colleagues who is currently on the Board of Regents, and I will send the answer to Giorgio.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Was my question because I've got an article. I don't know if where about that ChatGPT 4 has been tested for CPA, not CMA, if it was a correct examination.
Oh,
The ChatGPT got some 81% that seems positive is over the examination. So this means how has it been managed the examination? Is not okay. Another question?
The second question is, with your experience and after this speech, do you confirm that it is practically impossible to deploy significant AI projects without the involvement of the management accounts?
The management accountants are an absolutely essential part of any AI implementation and applications in organizations. Absolutely essential. They have such rich experience with their organizations. They will be able to leverage AI to benefit and to add value to the organizations. They must be involved.
Thanks a lot.
Okay. Other question, Alessio?
No, finished.
Finish. Okay, Chris, thank you so much again for your very kind professional detailed slides, and it's will be an opportunity maybe to next year or other our steps about automation, intelligent automation in a digital organization and accounting and financial department. Thank you.
All right,
Again.
well, have a wonderful rest of your conference. Goodbye.